In this video, I will explain how to consider inflation and escalation in the economic evaluation of investing project. Inflation is the economic term that indicates the average increase in price over the time. It is usually calculated for a basket of goods or services. The most common index for determining the inflation rate is called CPI or Consumer Price Index, and it is published by US Bureau of Labor Statistics. For example, the percentage change in CPI in a year compared to previous year indicates the inflation rate for that year. Inflation causes purchasing power to reduce. For example, if you had $100 last year and inflation rate is 5%, it means you won't be able to buy the same thing that you could buy last year. You can buy less. Escalation is also referred to the price increase, but it is defined for only one good or service. Inflation is reported for basket of goods or service, and it is kind of a general average for the entire economy. But escalation is only for one good or service. So if price of a good or service increases, it can be because of inflation, supply and demand change, technological change, environmental effects, or political effects. Two techniques are used to take into account the effect of inflation and escalation in economic analysis. Both of them should give you the same result. These two are called escalated dollar and constant dollar. In the escalated dollar analysis, you let your values, payments, income, costs to be increased according to an escalation rate. In the constant dollar analysis, you will remove the effect of inflation from the increased value, from the escalated cash flow, meaning that you want to consider a hypothetical constant purchasing power. One thing that you should keep in mind is you can do the constant dollar analysis only when you consider the escalation, only after escalated dollar analysis is done. Escalated and constant dollar analysis are two different methods, and the result shouldn't be compared. Usually reported cost, revenue, and incomes are happening at different time, and they're reported at today's dollar. Escalated dollar analysis lets you apply the escalation rate to these payments. You assume an escalation rate, and you will predict the increase of each payment over the time. In order to calculate the escalated dollar cash flow, you will compound each year's payment by the escalation rate, and you will have the escalation cash flow. If you do that for every single year for all the payments, you will have escalated cash flow in the end. So let's work on this example. Assume this cash flow. We are going to have the investments of $10,000 in year at the present time and in year one, and we are going to have the income of $15,000 at year two and year three. So let's calculate the escalated cash flow, the escalated dollar cash flow for this investment considering the escalation rate of 12%. As I explained in previous slides, in order to calculate the escalated dollar cash flow, we need to compound each payment by the escalation rate of 12%. So we need to multiply each year's cash flow by the factor F over P and the escalation rate. So as you can see here, the present time payment is not gonna be affected by the escalation. The first payment, which was at year one, is going to be multiplied by the factor F over P, 12% of escalation rate, and 1 year of compounding. And the same for the other payments. So the $15,000 of income and the year two is going to be compounded for 2 years and 12% of escalation rate. And last year, year three, it has to be compounded for 3 years by 12% of escalation rate. And we calculate the result for each year. So the result is going to show us the escalated dollar cash flow considering the escalation rate of 12% for the original cash flow. In order to calculate escalated dollar cash flow, we need to consider an escalation rate. Many investors use the anticipated inflation rate as the escalation rate to calculate the escalated dollar cash flow. But there are commodities such as construction equipment, steel, concrete, labor, and energy that may not follow this approximation. We can also have the negative escalation rate in case we are going to anticipate any decrease in cost, revenue, or income.